The hotel door slammed open, and the billionaire froze. Two women stood inside, waiting. One was his wife. The other was her best friend, the side chick he thought belonged only to him. His breath caught, his heart staggered. He realized too late he had walked into a trap. Once upon a time in the city of Lagos, there lived a billionaire named Chief Adewale. He was wealthy, powerful, and respected. He owned companies across the nation, drove the latest cars, and lived in a mansion so large that visitors often lost their way inside. But despite all his riches, Adewale had one weakness: women. He was married to a beautiful and loyal wife, Amaka, but he never valued her love. To Adewale, marriage was a trophy, not a commitment. Amaka, however, was no ordinary woman. She was intelligent, elegant, and wise, but she also carried a secret strength most people never saw. She had been watching her husband's unfaithfulness for years, never saying a word, but deep in her heart, she was already planning. Adewale's downfall began the day he betrayed Amaka with someone far too close, her best friend, Ifeoma. Ifeoma was sly and ambitious. On the surface, she was Amaka's trusted sister, always by her side at parties and family gatherings. But behind her soft smiles, Ifeoma envied everything Amaka had: her marriage, her influence, her place as the wife of a billionaire. So when Adewale began to make advances, Ifeoma did not resist. She welcomed him, not because of love, but because she saw a chance to step into Amaka's shoes. Their affair burned hot and reckless. Secret meetings in hotels, whispered calls late at night. Ifeoma played her role well, pretending to be discreet while quietly feeding Amaka all the evidence she needed. Yes, Amaka knew everything, but instead of crying or confronting her husband, she smiled. She watched, and slowly, she began to weave a trap that neither Adewale nor Ifeoma saw coming. The more Adewale cheated, the bolder he became. He started neglecting Amaka openly. He missed family dinners, skipped important events, and even lied about business trips just to be with Ifeoma. But little did he know, both women were already working together. And soon, Adewale would walk into the greatest trap of his life. Adewale believed himself untouchable. In his mind, money excused every mistake. Ifeoma was young, beautiful, and bold. Whenever they were together, Adewale felt alive again, like a man half his age. But what he didn't know was that every smile, every whispered word, every secret kiss with Ifeoma was being carefully counted by Amaka. Amaka never confronted him. Instead, she played the role of the quiet, obedient wife. When Adewale ignored her, she pretended not to care. When he came home late at night smelling of perfume, she forced a smile. But inside, her heart grew colder by the day. She had already decided, if her husband wanted to betray her, he would pay for it with more than just guilt. And so the trap began. One evening, as Adewale relaxed in his private study, Ifeoma called him. Her voice was soft, seductive. "My darling," she whispered, "I am tired of hiding. I want more than just stolen moments in hotels. I want us to be free. I want to be yours completely." Adewale chuckled, swirling the wine in his glass. "You already belong to me, Ifeoma, but you know how things are. Amaka is still my wife." Ifeoma sighed dramatically. "Then make me more than just your mistress. Don't I deserve better? Haven't I proven my love?" Her words stung his pride. Adewale hated being challenged, but he also knew she was right. Ifeoma had risked a lot to be with him. He thought about all the nights they had spent together, the secrets she now carried. He couldn't afford to lose her. "What do you want me to do?" he asked at last. Ifeoma's voice became serious. "I want to see your empire. I want to stand by your side as more than a secret. Let me into your world. Let me see the accounts, the companies, the investments. If I am to be your future, then trust me with everything." Adewale hesitated. He had never allowed even Amaka to touch his business documents. He kept his empire under tight control, but the thought of Ifeoma walking beside him as a partner thrilled him. Little did he know, These words were carefully written by Amaka herself. Earlier that week, Amaka had invited Ifeoma to her house. There was no shouting, no tears. Instead, Amaka looked at her old friend with calm eyes and said, "You want my husband? Take him. But if you're wise, you'll help me take everything else." At first, Ifeoma was shocked. But then she saw the determination in Amaka's eyes. Slowly, a smile spread across her lips. The two women, once friends turned rivals, now became partners. Together, they plotted a plan so dangerous, so daring, that it could only succeed if Adewale's pride blinded him completely. Over the following weeks, Ifeoma played her role perfectly. She convinced Adewale that she truly loved him, not his money. She whispered about marriage, about building a future together. She pretended to worry about Amaka, saying, "She will not let you go easily. If you want me, you must make a bold move." Those words were daggers to Adewale's pride. He wanted to prove that he controlled his own life. So one night, over dinner, he confessed to Ifeoma, "I am ready. Amaka has been nothing but a weight around my neck. She will soon see that I don't need her. You, Ifeoma, are the future. Together, we will build something greater than she could ever imagine." Ifeoma smiled sweetly, but inside her heart danced with victory. The trap was tightening. The next phase began. Amaka suggested that they host a private gathering in the mansion. She told Adewale she wanted to celebrate his latest business deal. Adewale, blinded by pride, agreed. On the night of the party, the mansion glittered with lights. Music filled the halls. Guests from high society arrived in sleek cars, dressed in the finest clothes. Adewale stood tall, dressed in a sharp suit, with Ifeoma at his side. Amaka moved gracefully through the crowd, her face calm, her voice sweet. No one could guess the storm she carried inside. As the evening went on, Adewale announced to the guests that he had an important declaration. He raised his glass and, with a smug smile, said, "Tonight, I present to you my future. This is Ifeoma, the woman who has captured my heart. She will soon take her rightful place beside me." The room fell silent. All eyes turned to Amaka, but instead of rage or humiliation, she simply smiled. She clapped softly, her eyes cold as steel. Then, she raised her hand. At that moment, the doors to the hall swung open, and men in dark suits entered carrying briefcases. Behind them came a group of lawyers and journalists. Gasps filled the room. Adewale's smile faded. "What is this?" he demanded, his voice shaking slightly. Amaka stepped forward, her eyes never leaving his. "This," she said calmly, "is the beginning of your end." The lawyers opened their briefcases, pulling out stacks of documents. Business records, hidden accounts, secret investments Adewale thought no one knew about. The journalists raised their cameras, snapping photos as if history was unfolding before their eyes. Amaka turned to the stunned guests and said, "For years, this man has betrayed not only me but his family, his vows, and even his empire. Tonight, I reveal the truth." She handed the microphone to Ifeoma. Adewale's mouth fell open. "Ifeoma? What are you doing?" But Ifeoma only smiled, her voice steady as she spoke. "Chief Adewale, you thought you were using me, but all along I was using you. Every word I whispered, every secret meeting, every document you showed me, I gave them to Amaka. Together, we now control everything you built." The guests erupted in shock. Some clapped, some gasped. Adewale staggered back, his pride shattering like glass. The trap had closed. The room buzzed with whispers as Adewale's empire crumbled before his very eyes. Men who once bowed to him now whispered behind their hands. Women who once longed for his attention shook their heads in pity. Adewale's chest heaved. "Amaka, you set me up." Amaka stepped forward, her voice calm but sharp like a blade. "No, Adewale, you set yourself up. Your greed, your pride, your betrayal, they brought you here. I only handed you the mirror." He turned desperately to Ifeoma. "And you, after everything I gave you, you dare betray me?" Ifeoma smiled coldly. You gave me nothing I couldn't get myself. You thought you were the hunter, but you were always the prey. I only played my role, the one Amaka and I wrote together. The hall erupted again with murmurs. Guests recorded the scene on their phones, already imagining the headlines. Billionaire exposed by wife and mistress. Adewale's pride, his greatest shield, was gone. He reached for his glass, but his hand trembled. His empire was no longer his. The documents Ifeoma had fed Amaka revealed fraud, tax evasion, and secret offshore accounts. Within days, the government would come knocking. His voice cracked. Amaka, after all I've done for you, you would destroy me like this? Amaka's eyes narrowed. You never did anything for me, Adewale. You only did for yourself. While I stood beside you in silence, you mocked our marriage. While I carried your home with dignity, you dragged my name through the mud. You thought I was weak. But tonight, you see, I was only waiting. She turned to the guests. Let this be a lesson. Betrayal is a seed. Plant it, and one day, you will eat its bitter fruit. The hall echoed with claps, though some clapped in fear, others in awe. Adewale, desperate, tried to walk toward Ifeoma, perhaps hoping to win her back. But Ifeoma stepped back, her face twisted with scorn. Do not touch me, chief. You are finished. You are a man without a kingdom. By the next morning, the news had spread across the city. Newspapers screamed the scandal. Social media carried videos from the party, replayed millions of times. Adewale's name became a mockery. His business partners pulled away. His accounts were frozen. Within weeks, he lost control of his companies. Properties were seized. Staff resigned. And the once mighty Chief Adewale walked the streets like a shadow of his former self. Amaka, however, thrived. With the evidence in her hands, she secured her position not only as his legal wife but as the rightful heir to much of his wealth. She moved with dignity, ensuring her children's future and restoring her honor. As for Ifeoma, she vanished from the public eye. Some said she fled abroad with part of Adewale's hidden funds. Others whispered she had returned to the village in shame. But one truth remained clear. She was no longer a mistress but a player in the downfall of a king. One evening, broken and alone, Adewale sat outside the ruins of one of his seized properties. His clothes were wrinkled, his eyes hollow. A young man passing by recognized him and whispered to a friend, "Is that not Chief Adewale, the billionaire?" The friend laughed bitterly. He was a billionaire. Now he is just a man who thought money could buy loyalty. Adewale lowered his head in shame. Back in the mansion, Amaka gathered her children and spoke softly. Remember this, my children. Wealth without respect is a curse. Power without loyalty is weakness. And marriage without faithfulness is destruction. Her words echoed like a proverb across generations. New moon moral of the story. Pride blinds, betrayal destroys, and no empire stands on the foundation of deceit. A wise man honors his vows, for the day of reckoning always comes.